All right, what was your other idea on the other side of the spectrum?
So this is a idea I've been working on, not working on, but I've been thinking about for years now. It's called nantucketsuv.com. I actually own the domain. And so I'm from
You're
Boston
squatting
and
on it.
yeah, totally squatting on it. And I'm from Boston. I've spent a bit of time on Nantucket. And Nantucket is this really sort of hoity-toity island off the coast of Cape Cod,
Mm.
and it's really nice. But the cool thing there, like if you're really hip, you have one of these vintage SUVs. So they're like the old Ford Broncos that are like restored and all spruced up, or
It's like a Woody
Land
wagon.
Rover. Yes, exactly. The old Land Rover Defenders, old CJ Jeeps.
Yeah.
So those are the things, and people will pay like almost limitless money for these things.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was, because out here in Utah, you can look on KSL classifieds and other places and find a lot of these trucks that are just sitting on a farm, like literally just like sitting on a farm or sitting, in someone's garage. So the idea is my idea. Maybe I shouldn't be sharing this, but my idea after Huckabee's, sold for $1 billion or whatever, is let's restore these trucks that are sort of sitting in parts of the country that don't value them as much as Nantucket and these other islands do. Fix them up, put them on a flatbed, and bring them to Nantucket and sell them for like 10x.
Interesting.
Totally. I think it's one of
Exact
those
opposite end of the spectrum,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
the exact opposite. It's like
is it
go
new futuristic
gasoline
cars or old
Yeah.
SUVs.
Old,
or
yeah.
vintage SUVs. That's kind of how I think. It's like if I'm gonna get something brand new, it better be just like amazing. Otherwise, I'm gonna go with an old Ford Bronco.
I have to think that like it's just what it shows is like one of those interesting like regional differences in value, right? Like where like Subarus sell for more in Utah than they do elsewhere. Like there's a lot of things like that, and you got to think that somebody like with the knowledge and know-how of like a couple of these like geographical pockets, in this case it's SUVs, but in other cases it's other things where things are just worth more in different areas of the country,
Yeah.
and different populations value different types of objects and different types of things. But like for somebody with the capital to like go to Utah, New Mexico, and Idaho and find these vintage SUVs and fix them up, like this seems like kind of a no-brainer way to, especially if you're into vintage SUVs anyway.
Well, I think you could also like the Nantucket angle could be part of a larger company where that's what you're doing is you're saying, all right, I've identified 6 key demographics in parts of the country where these people over here, they like low riders, or they like Jeeps is probably one of those things where like depending on where you are, a Jeep is worth a lot,
A lot different. Yeah, that's kind of the concept. I think you guys have summed it up better than I did, but it was like the biggest price disparity. So my wife, her parents have a old Ford Bronco that's literally just sitting in the back of their lot and of their house. And I like it's pretty broken down. It's like a big project that I wasn't willing to take on, but I planted the idea in my father-in-law, and he started looking up how much these Broncos are selling for. Like sometimes they'll sell for like $150,000. Like it's crazy.
Totally.
And so it's just one of those price disparities based on geolocation, and you could make money. Like it costs only $1,000 to ship a car across the country, maybe more now, but about $1,000, $1,500. So that would just make a lot of sense. You guys are now taking it to a whole different level. That's like, yeah, let's make a system that can actually do this for anything.
Yeah. Well, and I think
way more exciting than my idea. My idea is like a pet project. NantucketSUV.com.
I think that your like anecdote of your father-in-law that has this old Ford Bronco is, in your case, your father-in-law has the great benefit of knowing someone from Boston that gets this whole Nantucket culture. Totally. But 99% of father-in-laws with an old Ford Bronco in the garage are just going to like list it on KSL, see if some guy will come haul it off. And it's like, that's ultimately like, if you have a company like this, that's the guy that you kind of want to get in touch with. And, or if you're looking
we'll like
to
pull it away,
service,
we'll pull it out of your graveyard for free.
Totally.
Like, think how many are just like sitting on farms or just like haven't run in 10 years.
Totally.
And like, yeah, we'll just pick it up for free and we'll get it off and we'll like plant some grass.
Yeah, because
People are like, great.
Because basically what it is you have some centralized or a couple centralized automotive shops that are like that's what they do. You're buffing out cars. So you'd have to obviously have enough capital to own that
and to buy a bunch of cars.
Well,
but I guess if the theory is like the cars are out there, and it's like how, and I think like, even to go lower tech and like lower input is maybe you just need to like build a web scraper that like goes to all these and finds the cars that you're looking to buy basically on these KSL and Craigslist type sites.
Well, I do think also what you talked about your father-in-law, like, so I grew up in a home where we went through a lot of cars because of the nature of my dad and he bartered a lot. And so I probably had 30 cars come and go from my house. And a handful of those cars, like I remember we had this Datsun, which was like this tiny little convertible European car that no one knew what a Datsun was, but it was just like stayed in our garage forever. And I was like, and eventually it was gone. I'm sure my dad was just like got sick of it. But I am so confident that the way that, some people look at this Ford Bronco or these certain cars, somebody was like, oh man, this 1950s Datsun, that's the car that I wish I could find restored and painted blue or whatever. And yeah, if there was this website that was like, hey, send us your old car and we'll basically give you a quote and then maybe even a commission fee when we sell it. So it's like I'm now incentivized to like go and find my father-in-law's old car, send it. I get $1,000. They come pick it up, and if they sell it, I get another $1,000 or some percentage of the sell price or whatever.
Something to incentivize you to actually do the work.
Yeah,
like, figure out if you've got cars in your network that would be good or.
And then basically what you're doing is you start with the Nantucket, which but then I'm convinced there's a Jeep network. And there's an old restoration network, and an old.
I mean, think about then you could get into, like my dad had an early Saab 900 that was beautiful, and he also had a Bronco before that. And I'm like, God, if he had just put those in storage somewhere, I would be driving them today.
Yeah.
And that's maybe like there's like a storage part of it too. It's like invest in take this car off of a farm and put it into storage, clean it up a little bit. I think, my idea was way simpler than what you guys have gotten to.
This is what we do.
So that's probably why I came on this. But it's like, there's a lot. And then there's stuff beyond cars too, but cars are particularly interesting because certain cultures and certain locations value them much higher, especially old cars, than other locations. And that's something between like Nantucket and Utah that I just noticed and was like, boy, this could be something.
There is something there.
And it'd be kind of fun.
Love it.
All right, Jeff, at the tail end of our episode here, you mentioned you had some interesting stories you've been stolen from. What would you say is your best story that you could leave with the thieves here? Just an interesting anecdote or something that's happened to you that you think the thieves would appreciate.
Sure. So at Amazon, they have this group under Bezos that's almost like, it's kind of like a think tank where they take a lot of the smartest people at Amazon, no matter what department they're in. So they could be in marketing, they could be in supply chain, they could be in warehousing. They just have a lot of smart people there. I think it's a group of about 60 people at the time that I tried to poach out of it. It was like, 50 to 60 people. And essentially what they would do is that they'd have these very strategic questions, like where should we place our next warehouse and get tax breaks and so on and so forth, and be, efficient in terms of delivering product. And they would take someone that's an expert at shipping logistics and tax legislation and all these things, and then someone that was just completely from a different part of the company. Say they specialized in like personalization or ad buying or something like that. And they'd put them together and say like, okay, here's the problem. Spend 2 months, leave your regular job, come back to our group and recommend what we should do. And what was so cool about it is they got access to basically all the major decisions at Amazon. So I told our top recruiter, I want one of these guys. I don't care who, guys or gals. I don't care who it is. I just want someone that has